Hey guys, it's me, Ace1, and welcome to the Chatcube podcast, the show where we talk about a game for the whole episode, some gaming news, and have instant regrets about things. I'm your host, Ace Luck. With me today is guests Darkdude, Tyler, who is known as Seven Kings on YouTube, Cody, who is known as Fun at Home on YouTube, and Jeremy, who is known as Dragonlord on YouTube. Why can't you be like Darkdude and have a cool fucking nickname? Because I can't come up with one for you yet.
Well, I mean...
How you guys doing today?
Yeah, doing alright.
Alright.
That's a hell of a way to start a podcast series.
Well, I mean, it's either
well
that or
now
some sort
I'm
of
doing
dick.
pretty Gucci. I'm doing pretty Gucci, but earlier I wasn't doing as Gucci.
So, for those of you who's new to the podcast, aka everyone, basically how we're going to be doing this podcast is we start off the show by talking about some recent news in the gaming scene. Then we'll move on to the main topic of the game. As you can kind of tell from this little title card / just plain photo here, because this is an audio podcast, but I don't know how to get this Spotify shit to work yet. Basically, we're going to be covering Left4Dead 2 today. So, first of all, let's go ahead and get the gaming news out of the way. So, first of all, the PlayStation 5 is going to be coming out on the 12th. Your guys' thoughts?
I mean, kind of predictable, in my case. I think it's predictable.
What do you mean
Well,
predictable?
Yeah,
A
that's
lot
good.
of new
That's
consoles
predictable.
come out around November.
Oh,
Mhm.
okay.
Oh, you know that is fair.
Exactly.
That gives people a month to buy it, be ahead of the Christmas rush here, because like companies have been
Exactly.
pushing out newer stuff earlier and earlier, so they can be ahead of the Christmas rush here. So like, come around Christmas time here, they'll already have like 2 million units sold here, just so they can have a good like Black Friday buffer. For
yeah, I was about to say
holiday
it,
sales.
a lot of it has to do with like them trying to suck Black Friday's dick kind of thing. So,
Well, it's not exactly their fault though.
Yeah.
Black Friday is historically known as the day you get your profits into the quote unquote the black, which is like the best profit margin you can get.
except
And also
for
the day
one
where
day
you get shot with a shotgun.
I'm
Wait,
sorry, say
which Black Friday was that?
Every Black Friday.
you want
that. No,
you want to talk, Dirt Dude?
yeah, I was about to say that sounds pretty sus, man.
Yeah.
No,
You don't know.
no, the Black Friday of 2010. No, I can't go back. You can't make
Okay.
me go back.
Okay, Dark. I want you to realize this is 2020. This year's a whole hell of a lot worse than 2010. Okay.
I mean, you're right.
I mean, no one is disagreeing with me. So
I mean,
all
yeah.
y'all can go fuck yourself. You think that's not the case? This year is worse than 2010.
You're not
most
wrong
likely
at
is.
all.
I mean, for Christ's sake, we
2010 was a
fucking
good
lost
year
Eddie Van
anyway.
Halen. We lost Eddie Van Halen this year. I am upset by that.
Oh, man. So how else is your guys' thoughts on the PS5?
Well, I would love to get one, but I can't. So
Yeah,
I don't
there's-
want to get
stand.
one just yet because, like, I don't know. Like, they're gonna eventually release a bigger storage one here, and with my PlayStation here, it's like showing its age. I want to get one where it's like a terabyte drive or something first.
Fair enough. I'm gonna say this, and this is gonna be the same like thought and opinion I have for when we go into the next news topic. Guys can probably kind of guess what it is, but fuck it. Basically, I don't really try to get game systems when they first come out. I like to wait until they've been out for a couple years, so that way I can get either the better model or there's enough games on the in the base to where it's like I'm not stuck playing some really shitty launch title games. Not saying that any of the launch titles are shitty. I'm sure there's a couple. I'm just not paying attention to it. I like to wait until it comes out, basically. So,
Which
That's fair.
sounds fair.
so
fair.
going on to a similar topic, the Xbox Series systems. I can't believe I have to say systems. That is the weirdest fucking thing ever. Is going to be coming
Yeah,
out on the 10th. In the meantime,
Yeah, they're taking a notes from Nintendo with the Wii U.
I'm gonna just say this here: whoever's naming shit at Microsoft needs to be fucking fired.
wait, what?
'Cause,
All
the
right.
Xbox Series and the Xbox Series X and the Xbox One Series X,
imagine
fucking excuse me,
The
this is supposed to be a game system, not a stroke.
3DS, the new 3DS.
I swear to God, if we start getting
2DS.
I swear to God, if we start getting to car model levels of naming, like, here's the 2021 Xbox Series X. I swear, if we get to that, I'm fucking done. I do
Slaps
not.
Xbox. This bad boy has 1 terabyte of RAM.
Oh my god, could be kind of horrifying if a game system had a terabyte of RAM for it.
Hey, at least you know if something is slow, it's not because of RAM.
This does lead
Yeah.
into a quick question, though. In your guys' personal opinion, PlayStation or Xbox for this generation? Just going off of what you've seen, and let's say you had enough money to get one system, but not the other.
PlayStation, without question.
PlayStation.
I would go with PlayStation.
PlayStation. Tyler?
Yep.
I don't know what I want to get here because, like, I don't know if I want to wait because there's a game I want coming out for a no gen here. The problem is I don't know how long it's going to wait till they make a PlayStation adaptation to it because PC is a no go because the PC demands on that show would be way too high.
Is
For
it
me,
that,
at this
is it
current
that
time.
one like Xbox exclusive that From Software is making?
No,
Oh well, never
the
mind.
From Software thing you're thinking of is Demon Souls. That's on PlayStation 5.
Is it? I thought they announced like an Xbox exclusive game.
I don't think so.
Well,
I mean,
there
if
isn't
they
a-
probably
did,
thinking
we're-
of
No,
something
no,
else.
no, that's the thing. There isn't a Xbox exclusive game I was thinking about getting, but I don't know if I want to wait for it to come out on PlayStation 2 because like
PlayStation 2.
On the PlayStation 2.
PlayStation 2.
PlayStation, comma 2, not
Yeah, well, we
PlayStation
know,
2.
we know. It's just the way you
Man,
said
you're
it.
taking
Y'all
this
are
way
shitters.
back. Man, you're taking this way back. You think it'll play on my fat
Y'all-
model?
Y'all are shitters and you know it.
All right. In some
That does-
in other gaming news right now, Star Wars: The Force Unleashed 3 is rumored to be in development. The source for this is comicbook.com. I don't know if this is a high trusted source. I just noticed this. I know people love those games, so I figured it'd be worth mentioning. This is in hypothetical if it's true, because again, it says rumored. What are your guys' thoughts on A Force Unleashed 3?
They either better design it like what is it? Jedi Outcast. What's the name of the game here with Cal?
Fallen Order.
Fallen Order. They better design it like Fallen Order, or I'm not fucking interested because Fallen Order spoiled the shit out of me because it was flawless, it was beautiful, and god damn it, if I could marry a video game, I'd probably fucking marry that game.
I mean,
Some
if
people
it's
finish Fallen
if
Order at
it's
some
if
point.
it's not like Fallen Order, I would want it to be kind of like a
I want it to be like the first one because the second game of what is it?
Force Unleashed.
Force Unleashed. It didn't feel like the first. It felt very different. And it was like
I hear
it
that
was like
a
it was
lot.
rushed. It was like
Personally, for
rushed.
me,
It felt
if I do
rushed.
want to try to be in a certain gameplay style, I would kind of like them to take a little influence maybe from Platinum games with the beat 'em up style. Force Unleashed has always kind of had that beat 'em up kind of feel to me and stuff, just with the Star Wars kind of skin on it and with some unique things. Not that that's bad. It's a good game from when I played. Not much of it, but I have played a little and I did enjoy it. But I would think like give it a little bit of a Platinum Games coding kind of to it. So
I could see that working, maybe.
Well, my problem with that is with Platinum Games is that their games are known to be very, very fucking short.
They are short.
Depends on the game. Oh, most of the games, I should say. Most of the games are short. I think Nier Automata is like really long because of uniquely endings based on replayability.
Oh my
you need
god!
To play
like,
that. You need to
There's
play
as
that
many
game.
endings as there are letters in the alphabet.
that's 32, right?
No, I need to bring up this point. The people that said they beat Near Automata and only played it once, they're not getting the full experience. You
Oh
need
yeah,
to
that's
play
not
that
beating
game.
it. Then that's completing probably.
You
the
actually
equivalent
have
of
to
one
go
chapter.
and
That's
play
completing
through
a
it
playthrough.
Yeah, to do it 3
to get all
times.
the endings.
At least 3 times.
Yeah,
Then
I'm
you
not
can
looking
say
for. That's one thing I'm not looking forward to when it comes time for my Nier Automata playthrough.
Well, when you replay the game 3 times, it's not even the same as the first playthrough, really.
Well, that's a bright side at least. Anyways, in some God, that you gotta love that transition. In some other in some other news, Halo Infinity has lost their top director
Infinite, not Infinity. Buzz Lightyear.
to
Whatever,
Infinity, and I
same
don't
thing.
give a shit. To Infinity.
To
and
Infinity and Halo.
But
I don't know.
I don't know. This game, I swear, Halo Infinity, I don't care. It feels cursed to me at this point. Like, maybe the game will be good. I'm not hoping for the game to be bad and stuff, but it's not looking good. They just lost the director. That trailer we saw at E3
Two
was
directors.
two directors. Sorry, you're right.
Oh yeah, that's right. They
It-
did lose two directors.
It just
like,
looks
oh
like
great.
shit. It does not look like this game has a lot to going for it. You know.
It's gonna be
It's
dead on
basically
arrival.
got a lot of the Metroid Prime syndrome at this point.
Well, maybe. It's either gonna be that or it's gonna be another like fucking maybe Daikatana. No, not Daikatana.
Shit, at this rate, they might have to restart development just like Prime 4.
Maybe.
Yeah.
They had to cancel that project and start it from scratch.
Yeah. And speaking of projects getting delayed or screwed over.
Ah,
so-
yes, the game that everyone's beating the fuck out of like a dead horse.
Yeah,
yes,
Knack
people,
3.
we understand that. No.
No, I have a
Yes,
soul.
people, we
Yo,
understand.
Knack 3, I would buy a PS5 in a heartbeat. They had Knack 3.
And if they had a
For those of you-
PS5.
For those of you people simping for Knack, I have to question, where did you go wrong in life?
No, where'd you go wrong? You didn't experience Knack.
I don't simp for a goddamn pile of geometric shapes, you motherfucker.
I have to agree with Tyler. I do not like
Ye-
Knack.
You
I
do
mean,
realize
it's a cute launch
joke.
title. I'll get. No, here's the thing. Like, I like Knack. In fact, like, it's a cute launch title. You know, like people like consider getting games for kids. Like, I would give Knack to like my little nieces. I'd give Knack to them because like it's not too terrible. It's not too dark. It's also like just enough like where you challenge your brain here. Like, it's like our generation of Spyro. If you ever played Spyro, that's how I look at it. Like that. Now, you're welcome to disagree with me, but that's just what I feel about the whole situation.
Man, I think that's the most anyone's ever gone in intensely about
In-
Knack ever.
Intensely about
And then they
that.
made a sequel, baby! Woo!
I never played the sequel, but I heard it was shit.
Anyways,
No,
moving on to
it's
the
alright.
new.
If you
Moving
had a
on.
friend playing it, it was alright.
Cyberpunk 2077 has been delayed again.
Again.
Again,
is that
even though
really-
they,
no one's
even though they
surprised?
promised
Yeah, is
that they
that-
want to delay it
They
again.
promised it. Yeah, that's one thing I don't understand here. Like they said, we're good for gold. That in layman's term, that means like they're good to release the game. They're good to hit shelves.
Yeah.
And then what happens? Oh, we can't launch for shelves. We have to keep doing more optimization here. It's pretty much at this point the TF2 of delays here. Like, oh, gotta do more optimization. Oh, more optimization. More optimization.
Only difference is in regards to like TF2's development history. TF2 didn't try to fully stick onto a release date. Plus, Valve has a history of Valve time. So, as we'll see
Yeah.
when we kind of talk about Left 4 Dead later on. So, still, it's not really a shock, so we can kind of move on from that. And into the news that only one or maybe two people in this group will be really interested about. Mass Effect Legendary Edition has been announced. It is a remaster of the original 3 Mass Effect games. I don't care for the Mass Effect games.
You're missing out on the best goddamn alien pussy ever.
I love how that's your reason for forgetting the game.
No,
It's like,
well, it's
oh
not
god,
all-
we're missing out on that alien movie.
Well, it's not the only reason.
He's
Granted,
for
but, like,
aliens.
oh, come on. If you ever played Mass Effect, you know that you would fucking simp out for Liar, that goddamn alien chick. You fucking know it.
What about that? What about that robot chick?
Robot chick? What a robot.
That weird looking chick with like the head that looks like robotic-y and whatnot.
I
She's
think-
not a robot.
Well,
Oh,
to be
she's
fair,
not?
she looks
Oh,
like a
my bad.
robot.
No,
I
it's-
know she isn't a robot,
it's-
but she
It's an
looks like-
environmental suit because her species' whole thing is that they were raised on ships. And anything that's not a sterile environment will kill them because their immune system is so fucking shit.
See what I mean when I
Oh.
said Tyler was gonna pop a boner on this shit?
Yeah.
Okay, first, fuck you. Second off here,
Yeah.
I just love sci-fi like that here because like it's just enough of a blend between Star Trek and 40K. Like it works. It just works.
All right.
Was 2 your favorite?
And another thing that Tyler will be talking about, there is a controversy going on with the Apex Battle Pass right now. Tyler, would
All
you
right,
like
boys
to
and
go
girls.
in?
Yes, I will. Thank you, Mr. Ace. And to put it in
Don't ever
simple
call me
here, folks-
Mister.
Okay, Boomer. You said not to call you Mr. So I'll call you Boomer.
Just call me dude.
No.
Damn you,
Dude.
I'm just
dude!
a
I
dude.
think Darkdude's got to sue you now.
No, I'm the opposite. I'm
That
like,
is a
dude.
copyrighted trademark game.
No, I'm
Yeah,
like.
we're taking
game.
legal action against you.
Anyways,
For
Tyler, go
stealing my
ahead.
name.
Go ahead, Tyler.
So, for those of you who've been keeping up with Apex here, but probably haven't played in a bit here, Apex started its newest season of Season 7 here. You're now on a far-off planet of Olympus, blah blah, yada yada. But the main thing here is that, for some dumb reason here, EA and Respawn have decided to up the level of work you need to put into the Battle Pass to upgrade a tier. And I'm not talking like, like it's very small. Like, this is like double of what you used to need to do here. And the thing is, they encourage you to buy tiers for the whole thing here, but everyone is calling them out here saying that they're going to quote-unquote fix it and make the game how it should have been just so they can get brownie points on the internet, and people are calling that shit out and they will not let it go. So pretty much it's a case of, oh, we broke it, but we actually fixed it. It's like the false
So,
fallacy
in
thing
other
you see in
words,
costs.
this is typical EA.
Well,
Yeah.
yes, but actually no. EA's never actually made a price higher than brought down to their original price of what they were planning for it, make it seem like it's a discount. You see this more often in stores with Black Friday deals and whatever. The normal price is, they say it's substantially higher than what the normal price actually is, but they only drop it down to the actual price just to make it seem like it's a false deal. It's like a fake advertising of that.
Okay. And on to our last news topic today, especially as we're pushing the 15-minute time limit right now. We're almost at 15. Wow. For the news, that is. Obviously, it's not going to be a 15-minute podcast.
Yeah.
Cody has
better.
some Cody has some information regarding a controversy right now with Call of Duty Cold War involving the storage size. Oh boy. Cody, would you like to tell the folks the numbers?
Yeah, before I delve into the numbers, y'all remember when Modern Warfare came out and how that was like 150, 175 gigs when it came out, and then over time,
Who could forget?
and then over time, the game got so big you can't even fit it on a 250 gigabyte SSD. I think currently right now, like Call of Duty Modern Warfare is like at least over 250 gigs. It's around the 300 threshold.
It's
right
close.
now.
It's close to 300.
Last I checked, yeah.
Yeah, it's like something close to 300. So there's a new Call of Duty coming out by Treyarch this year, Cold War, I believe it's called. It's the names I kind of forget half the time. You got Advanced War, Infinite War, all that jazz.
Yeah.
But they revealed like the system requirements and what the storage capacity you need to play it on like the PC and the PlayStation 5 and whatnot. So on the PS5, you're gonna need at least over 130 gigs to play it on the 5, and if you're on PC, they have like different tiers of what you need in order to run the game and whatnot. If I look at my Discord real quick, I could even send you guys the picture if you guys want real quick.
Go ahead. I could post the picture in the... Even though this is meant to be more of an audio podcast, I could show the picture really quick for those watching on YouTube. Okay, everyone, because it's
Yeah.
only on YouTube right now.
Yeah.
Okay. But they showed like a detailed graph of PC specifications ranging from minimum to recommended to competitive, and a ray tracing option. So, okay, I wish the picture was better. Let me just post it real quick before I delve deeper. So for minimum, you're gonna need on PC a minimum at launch 175 gigs of storage space. Minimum.
That seems an excessive amount.
Jeez.
And if you want to run with the best of the best graphics, Ultra RTX, running the game at high refresh, 4K, all that jazz, you're gonna need at least 250 gigabytes of space.
So we're going.
Yeah,
we're
for
getting up there
RTX,
to,
that
like,
sounds
arc
about
size.
right.
What was that, Jeremy?
So we're getting up there in terms of like Ark Survival Evolved size. Then
How big is Ark Survival?
Stupid.
it's like 256 or something like that at base.
Why is
Well,
every fucking
at
game going to
base?
250? The
Um,
fuck?
It's some crazy number. I don't have it off the top of my head, but
Well, still, I need to clarify this. This chunk is bigger than Modern Warfare at launch, and it's only going to get worse like a year from
Jesus.
now.
Because they're
It
gonna
is.
include Warzone into this, and Warzone is stupid amounts big as
Well,
it is. Like,
Warzone is its own separate fucking entity entirely.
might as well
Still
be its own
included,
They should just
though.
make Warzone its own game. It shouldn't even be. A
it technically
game mode.
is, but the problem is it's less download if you have Modern Warfare installed. That's the thing. Like back when
In other
Warzone
words,
was launching
Activision
here,
is being dicks.
Well,
'cause,
and
like,
here's
when it
the
was
funny.
launched. Okay, go on. Sorry, go on.
The funniest thing about this, if you only care about the multiplayer in Cold War, it's only like 50 gigs for the MP, but there's no option for you to just download zombies or download multiplayer to my, or not multiplayer, campaign to my understanding.
Right, because it's
So-
on the Blizzard app.
Yeah, but I just don't get it. If you're going to offer the multiplayer to be segregated for the campaign and zombies, I think those other modes should be segregated as well to where, hey, I just want to download the zombies and multiplayer. I don't really care too much about the campaign. You can do that because the
Yeah.
campaigns usually at launch are typically like the biggest component of the game.
Right.
But I think this is a problem because, for one, Modern Warfare, you can't fit that on a 250 gig SSD, and I think that's not okay because they're adding all this fluff to the game that doesn't need to be there, like 4K textures that should be optional, ray tracing again, which should be optional.
Well,
Various different languages no one's going to even use. Like, let's say you play in English and you don't use the other languages, you should just have the option to just turn those off or get rid of them.
Well,
So
yeah,
like TF2 with the fucking whatever it is that I can't remember.
the localization.
Yeah, that.
Yeah,
And
only
so-
way
so-
less amount of
counterpart-
space taking up.
Well, yeah, it's a problem too on consoles because these consoles are also I mean, the PlayStation 5 is kind of like a terabyte's worth of storage, and right out the gate, I think you're able, since it's got the system update and whatnot, you're able to use like around 700 gigs worth of space, I think.
Ugh.
And Cold War is like 130 gigs on the PS5. Now, why it's smaller on the PS5 than PC, I don't know. Maybe they optimized it better because with the whole PlayStation deal, I don't know.
It's also
but-
probably because the console isn't as powerful as the PC, so probably has that too. That's pretty common actually that a console version is smaller.
I mean,
So
I guess so, but again, I think it's a problem because we're already heading to the next gen game with like barely any space to put these games in. Once you run out of space, you have to fork up that extra dough just to get like a new internal storage or external. In which
Yeah.
Sony's been really finicky with the external storage as of late. Apparently, for like the SSD speeds and whatnot, you need to make that shit internal because a lot of these newer games you can't run on an HDD or external for some reason. Whereas on the new Xbox Series X, you can play it on external, but there will be a couple games that say, "Hey, this needs to be played on an internal hard drive with an SSD." So
basically, external hard drives are also dying with this next generation. Good.
well, yeah, because they're running off HDD speeds and not SSD speed.
Yeah.
And a lot of these
I don't
new
know how
games-
long. I don't know how long that'll last, though. Truth be told, because externals, as much as developers may not want to try to support them, are extremely supported at times. It feels like something that they're gonna try to kill off and then
the
fail
company-
brutally at.
And what will probably happen is the companies who make the external hard drives will probably go and find their own workaround.
They'll
when
probably
making future
make.
external drives.
I mean, I think they've already done external SSDs, but those are
Yes.
pretty expensive.
Right.
They are very expensive, but
Right. Now, with that said, that was the gaming news for more or less this past week. We're going to be covering now the main topic of today's episode, a game that was released in the year of 2009. a sequel to arguably one of the greatest zombie games, one of the greatest FPSs, and one of the greatest PC games ever made, Left 4 Dead. And a sequel that is better in every single way. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be talking about Left 4 Dead 2 today. So, with that said, we're going to start it off by just talking about how long we've been playing the game for. So, for example, I'm going to start with me, along with also how we got introduced to the game. So, when I was a kid, I loved to watch Lego movies. A shit ton. Honestly, it was kind of a problem, because I think I actually learned how to swear for them. I'm pretty sure I learned how to swear from them. I learned how to swear from Lego films.
Lego. Interesting way to learn swearing, but it's
Hey.
effective.
Hey, it works. It worked pretty well.
60% of the time, it works. 100% of the time.
With that said, one of the things I ended up started watching was some Lego zombie movies. I got intrigued by it a little bit. This was around the time when Walking Dead was kind of starting to pick up some steam. Left 4 Dead was obviously making all the rage, and Call of Duty Zombies was getting every 6-year-old's boners up.
Well,
and I
yeah,
just
at the time it would be World at War, I think, because I don't think Black Ops was out yet at that time.
I think
No.
yeah, it wasn't out.
2000 and what? 7?
It's 2010 when Black
I think
Ops
it was-
came out.
As like, I would say like maybe just like it just came out. Like it's
Yeah,
not
so in 2009 it was all the Modern Warfare craze came out around the same
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
So
Modern Warfare, Halo 3.
yeah,
the
So
quote unquote
basically-
golden age of gaming.
with air quotations and a bronze tint.
Pretty
With that said, though, basically I was just watching a shit ton of Lego movies and Lego zombie films, and then I saw somebody made an adaptation of Left 4 Dead in Legos. I didn't know what Left 4 Dead was at the time, so I was just like, okay, I'll take a look at this. I watched it. It was fun. The thing I was impressed most was not with the stop motion, because the stop motion was slightly subpar. The visual was a little off at times, and they could have used a better camera. But it was also around like 2008 when the video was released, so there's some space for good reason why it wasn't perfect.
Mhm.
But the thing I was impressed with most was the sound effects, because it was using audio from the game, but I didn't know that at the time. So I was like, wow, whoever recorded this put some real dedication to the audio. Then I saw some more stuff relating to it, and long story short, I learned more about Left 4 Dead by watching more videos on it, including my first actual Left 4 Dead gameplay video was of Left 4 Dead 2 and a custom Lego map that someone made. This, little did I know, would not only be my introduction to PC gaming, this would also be my introduction to mods. I didn't know about them at the time. I was just a fucking kid. So, I was a kid playing his Nintendo Wii, having some fun. And, but basically I wanted to play Left 4 Dead 2, and I had no concept of PC gaming at the time, so I asked for an Xbox for my birthday. An Xbox 360. And I managed to get it on my birthday, and just at the end of the day, I managed to get a copy of Left 4 Dead 2 for my birthday. From that point on, that was in 2011, mind you. It took me a while to get the game, unfortunately. But from that point on, I was just addicted playing it almost 24/7, if possible. Like, if I was at school, I was either doing Left 4 Dead related drawings or reading the manual that I would bring with me. God, remember when manuals were a thing?
God, I miss manuals.
I do too,
Ah.
man.
I miss when they actually put heart and passion into them by making them fully like colored and everything.
Yeah,
Yeah, they were
exactly.
and they were a thick fucking book back then too. Like, God.
Or it was like an actual like in manual, not like this bland thing that you put on a disc as an afterthought. 'Cause,
I
like,
used to
a
take
lot of
like
games
a
would get
bunch.
you for that.
I used to take like a bunch of manuals with me on the bus before I go to school and come home as like a way of passing the time.
And I don't
Again,
blame you, because you can get away with like reading manuals in class. You can't get away with looking at your phone. So it's like,
Mhm.
you guys are getting in trouble for this. I'm reading some good shit right now.
Yo, I'm reading about how to throw a grenade.
And Left 4 Dead 2
Yeah,
is
I'm
also,
reading about Paper Mario.
and Left 4 Dead 2 is also important for me because it's actually how I met a good amount of my friends. Because it all traces back to one day in middle school when I'm just eating some fucking lunch and I'm sitting at this table and everyone's chatting about Left 4 Dead because that's what we all do. And then I meet Darkdude there because Darkdude was chatting about Left 4 Dead. I'm just like, huh, Tar chatting about Left 4 Dead, huh? Sounds pretty cool. I own Left 4 Dead. That was the thing as well. I was the only guy who owned Left 4 Dead 2 at the table. So from that point on, Darkdude and I just got along. We became friends more, hung out more, playing Left 4 Dead more. And then over the summer, we just ended up becoming best friends because we did a lot of things that summer, including playing Left 4 Dead. A lot of it was playing Left 4 Dead.
Oh yeah.
The other half was trying to make a little short film that we should have put more time in instead of putting in Left 4 Dead. But you know what? Those are some good Left 4 Dead sessions.
Oh hell yeah.
And
Even if
for
it was
that,
only on the Xbox, but
yeah, and split screen.
in split screen.
God, that
Man, remember when split screen was a thing?
God,
What's split screen in modern games?
Yeah, exactly.
How to
God.
immediately out yourself as like a old gaming person. Split screen.
Split screen. There
Yeah.
No.
How do you out
You
yourself
say
is
memory cards.
no how you out
You go. Oh
yourself.
yeah, memory cards.
Oh,
Memory
cards.
cards.
Oh, my
No. Manuals.
It
Well,
all
the manuals
traces
are
back
still
to the
around.
manuals.
I think
manuals are
memory
still
cards.
around, but like the problem is that
I'm
they're
not.
just bland.
I'm not counting manuals that are one page with controller things on it. I'm not counting that. That's a fucking flyer.
That's more of, hey, here's the controls.
Hey, Vsauce, Michael here.
Oh, hey, here's some legal trouble you can read through.
Yeah. With that said, though, Darkdude, how did you get introduced to Left 4 Dead 2?
Well, actually, I'm pretty sure I got into Left 4 Dead like the first game like long before I met you, because I'm pretty sure like
Oh yeah,
we had played it.
that's not disputed. You definitely got into Left 4 Dead before I met you. But
Right, but the thing is that much like you said, I never really owned the game. I didn't have a 360 or a PlayStation or what have you.
it
growing
wasn't
up
on
as a kid.
PlayStation, but yeah.
Oh well, I thought it was, my bad. So I never really got much of a chance to play it on my own time, but I did play it all the time at a friend's house because a friend of mine had the first Left 4 Dead. Funny enough, when Left 4 Dead 2 was initially coming out, I was initially hesitant about playing it. I think it was just something about like the first game that I really, really liked. It was probably like the atmosphere, the characters, the guns, and stuff like that.
A lot
And
of people
then-
actually thought that as well. There was a lot of controversy when Left 4 Dead 2 initially was about to come out because a lot of people were basically like, this is just Left 4 Dead 1 with some extra stuff. Why not just make it into DLC? As it turns out later on, it's been revealed in interviews that the amount of stuff they were trying to put into the game and stuff would have been impossible to fit into DLC. So Left 4 Dead 2 was essentially a necessity for it.
makes sense.
Necessities.
Yeah.
The simple bare necessity.
But it is a fair
Anyway.
point to talk about because Left 4 Dead 2 feels a lot kind of like Doom 2 in a way. Like, yeah, it's a sequel, but it feels really, really similar. Of course, Doom 2 is widely regarded as one of the greatest FPSs of all time and a much needed improvement on Doom 1. Not that Doom 1 is bad. I love Doom 1. So,
Oh yeah.
as you were saying,
Let's tell you right here. You better watch your words here because that's the best way to get an ass kicking here in this channel.
I mean, I would have allowed the ass kicking if I was insulting Doom. That isn't Doom 3. Not that Doom 3 is bad, just it's not that good of a Doom game.
The initial version of Doom 3 is bad, but with all like the flashlight mods that have come out for that stuff,
Yeah, the duct tape
it's playable.
mods. The duct tape
It's
mods.
playable. That should have been a feature to begin with. I don't have to
It
choose
did
between
get
gun or
introduced later
flashlight.
on in the BFG edition.
I know, but like
I
it
don't know
shouldn't.
I don't know about that. That kind of defeats the purpose of the atmosphere.
I don't know. I mean,
Who the fuck plays a Doom game for the atmosphere? It's like watching a hentai for the story.
Well, to be fair, Doom
Alright,
3
John
was made as
Conrad.
a completely different game.
I like how
It
we went
wasn't-
from
it
talking
wasn't
about
meant to
Left 4
be-
Dead to Doom 3.
Yeah, now we're just talking about Doom 3 now.
Another point when I play the game
the
finally.
picture changes. Hey, we're talking about Doom 3 now.
Oh God. But as you're saying, Darkdude, for like how you discovered Left 4 Dead.
Yeah, but that, in a nutshell, is basically how I discovered it. I was at a friend's house. He had it on his 360, and I played it. We had a good time, and similarly to how we hung out and stuff when we were younger, we would always pretend that we were like in the game, like IRL. We would grab like Nerf guns and stuff, walk around the house, pretend we're going to safe rooms, get like healing up stuff.
Yeah,
like
that was the shit back in the day.
That was
Oh.
like ridiculously fun. We were like going in circles around his house, but we didn't care. We were having like so much fun.
That was better than us when we were just going circles around your room.
Yeah. To be fair, it was a pretty big room though.
Bigger than my room back then, and bigger than my room now. Shout out to the Harry
Yeah,
Potter
same.
closet.
Before we go on a entirely different tangent on that, though, that's something I feel like I wish more games like capitalized on, like making like people who play it like feel young again, you know? Because like
Yeah,
there's some games I play that make me feel like I'm older than shit. Like I don't want that. I want to have the idea that I'm still a young person because I'm only like 20 something, and I
Yeah,
feel like
'cause
I'm 50 some days.
Yeah, because when I play Left 4 Dead, I don't feel old. I feel like I'm like, even though I feel like I'm used to this game and I've maybe a slightly bit numb to it at times because of the amount I've played it, I don't feel old when I'm playing Left 4 Dead. I feel like a kid, or like at least younger. So, but
I think the
with
closest.
sorry, go ahead.
I think the closest game that ever made me feel like a kid again was probably either Breath of the Wild or Sonic Mania.
Yeah, Breath of the Wild was a good one for that too.
And-
It was a
Yeah.
good one for
Yeah,
that.
that's a fair point. On
Sonic
that.
Mania.
So
or the
with that
Battlefield
said,
Bottom
Tyler,
remaster
how
for
did
me.
you get introduced to Left 4 Dead?
You left. All right.
God
Cool.
damn it!
I'd like to tell the viewers at home here. Sometimes my Discord does this dumb thing where it disconnects and reconnects without warning. So like, I don't have control over it. This is just a thing that happens.
It should also
you-
be noted that because I'm technically recording this in streamer mode, nobody heard the disconnect notification. So, I found out when everyone just say, "Oh, he disconnected." but
Well, good to know.
But with that said, Tyler, how did you discover Left 4 Dead or Left 4 Dead 2?
Oh my god, it what I remember this as clear as day now because like it was second grade here with my best friend who's now in the army here.
Whoa,
It
hang,
was-
hang, hang on a sec. Hang on a sec. You're playing Left 4 Dead in the second fucking grade?
Well, no, it was like second or third grade, something like that. 'Cause, like it didn't come out. I think it was about that time here because like it was 2007 here. So I'm trying to remember like
The game
how old
came.
was I?
Left 4 Dead 1 came out in like late 2008.
I don't know, like we got the orange box basically, which was addition to all that. There's like it's the Xbox version of Left 4 Dead, and like
The
every
orange
day I
box
go
never
over-
had. The orange box never had Left 4 Dead on it.
Really, that did.
No.
Well,
Okay.
point is,
Now
it was the Xbox cup.
now I'm
Shut
starting
the
to
fuck up for 2
Okay.
seconds.
Okay.
Point is, it was the Xbox version of the game here. And every time I'd be over at his house, we'd always play that. That was like probably the first time like I've actually completed the Left 4 Dead campaigns on like highest difficulty here because we wanted to push ourselves. Like every day, every time I could go over and spend the night there, that's what we'd be doing there. And if we'd like play a few campaigns for the day and then like just go chill out and do other games and like have movies, but like it was something that stuck with me because like I found out like several years later when I got my own PC thing back when I joined Steam here. It was on PC, which I had no idea. That opened up a whole world of possibilities going from like basic stuff to, mods, which is its own separate title thing here.
Which,
Yeah,
we,
that
will,
was-
which we will cover in a little, because modding is
Yeah.
a very
Yeah.
important part of Left 4 Dead, and Valve as a
But-
whole, because Valve is essentially founded on the idea of modding, which is a
Or
good
at least
thing.
they used to.
They still kind of are, just maybe to a lesser extent.
Yeah.
But with that said, Jeremy, how did you discover Left 4 Dead 2?
So I discovered Left 4 Dead and Left 4 Dead 2, and so I never really owned the game myself until actually Kev bought it for me, on Steam.
Right.
But I originally discovered it through Robert, which is an old friend of mine and Kev's. When he still lived on the same road as I did. So basically we would, though it wasn't the game that me and him would mostly had the most fun with, but it is a game we did connect well with. And so, and at the time, and as you know, Robert doesn't, as you guys know, he
Most of us don't. I
never
don't know
owned-
anything about Robert.
He's never owned a PC. He's always console, and he still, to this day, remains to not own a PC. even and he wishes to do so when he gets the chance to.
To be fair, he has a good
Um,
reason why he doesn't right now. I'm not going to get into it, but
yes,
he has a good
yeah, yeah.
reason.
There is a very good reason why, but um, we so when I did discover Left 4 Dead 2 through him, we did have a lot of fun with that. But where it really comes down to it is when um what really got started in terms of Left 4 Dead 2 was when after Kev got it was when for me was when I started really having some good experience with it.
Yeah, we should note as
Um
well, really quick. Jeremy is right now in this podcast for all of us talking the best Left 4 Dead player I have ever seen. Like,
that
truth be told, a lot of the time I do see him playing with like extra health and stuff, modded and stuff, because we tend to play with mods a lot. Again, we'll cover that aspects later. But I have seen Jeremy genuinely play the game with the default health, and he is like a fucking machine with this game. He can somehow goof off and still legitimately kick your ass if you're playing him in versus. I don't know how the fuck that's possible, but Jeremy has found a way. It is honestly some of the most insane bullshit I've ever seen.
well,
So,
some of that so well, I mean, I do want to point out that some of that is probably because I didn't grow up with console. I grew up with PC.
yeah, Jeremy's one of the few people on the call who's actually was pretty much growing up a dedicated PC player, unlike me who was playing Nickelodeon browser games at 5. That was the shit
I
back
mean,
then.
yeah,
I mean,
I did play console games and stuff like that, but like I didn't have much in the way of console games. Like I had some Gran Turismo games, I had some EA games here and there, like but like I didn't have like 20 or 30 games. I only had like 5 console games. Um so all of my gaming experience went into growing up with PC. So and part of that part of my skill in games like Left 4 Dead 2 and stuff like that is largely dependent on the fact that I grew up with
Fair enough.
um
Fair enough.
but
And
the but yeah, it was I back on topic. I only so when I met Kev, I was introduced to him by Robert. But we didn't really connect very well until Kev got his PC and started playing Left 4 Dead on there.
right.
So it was we only became good friends after we started playing together on there.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Cody,
Um,
how about you? How did you discover Left 4 Dead and or Left 4 Dead 2?
How I discovered it.
Yeah.
I think I just discovered it from just hanging out with you guys one day and just saw you guys recommend it to me because I don't
Wait,
think
really?
I think so.
Shit, I never, I thought you already, shit. I thought you already knew about it. Shit.
Well, before I met you guys, I mean, I kind of knew what Left 4 Dead was, but like I never really had it nor played it. I was more into like other games at the time.
Right.
But it really wasn't when I hung out with you guys and met you guys that I really got into it. And I think I really only started playing it until I got my PC back in 2015 when I was trying to dabble into the PC scene with like various games. I remember like one of my first games I tried out on my new PC once I got it was like Far Cry 3 and Sonic Generations, and
I
then
think I
later
remember
on,
that actually. Yeah.
yeah, and I wasn't sure if I was gifted the game or if I bought it, but at some point I got the game, and then ever since that point, you guys, mainly Kev and whatnot, they were just like, "Yo, you gotta try this mod out. You gotta try this mod out, and this and that." And I was just like, "Okay."
Hmm.
Like, I think really that I really don't even care most about the mods. I do think the general like game feel is pretty sound. It's just just the AI, man. It just makes me not
I
want to
think-
play that game.
Which will actually go into our next topic right now, which is the gameplay, the AI, and the AI director. So, Left 4 Dead 2 is a first-person shooter, if you haven't kind of caught on by now. It's a first-person shooter co-op zombie game that's divided into multiple campaigns, each with multiple chapters in of itself. For those who are wondering, no, you cannot bring weapons over from different campaigns. You always start each campaign off with one pistol and the ability to shove, and you should spawn near some health kits and a second pistol, and for Left 4 Dead 2's case, melee weapons.
in the primary weapon.
On occasion. Some maps don't give you that primary weapon option.
Well, no, all default maps start you out with med kits, pistols, and a primary weapon.
I think Dead Center would like to speak to you.
Yeah, the
no,
thing is that
even Dead Center does as well. You just have to. Dead Center is just a little bit separated out compared to the rest.
Well, I
yeah,
mean,
you
I
don't
mean,
go a
I mean,
whole-
in your spawn
you don't go a
room.
whole camp. Well,
In
you
the
don't go a whole thing without it. So
Yeah, but basically, you have to progress through each chapter, basically trying to get from one safe room to the other until you reach the final chapter, which will always be a finale that involves escaping. The escape can be done in multiple ways, involving fueling generators and or cars with gas cans, waiting for someone to arrive just in time, just basically holding things off. So
All right.
the idea.
Can I butt in?
Go ahead.
I did buy Left 4 Dead. It was like during a Steam.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you for the clarification. But basically, it's a first-person shooter that is meant to be played as a co-op game. You're generally expected to play with 4 people or even 8 people if you're playing it on online in Versus, which is a game mode in the game where one team plays as infected, their team plays as survivors. The infected try to kill the survivors. If they succeed, or if the survivors succeed in moving on to the next chapter, you switch sides to see who can do. It's basically kind of like a competitive mode about trying to see who can be better than the other. So, but most people's
And
even
in
then
that
still
aspect, it's speed of your game.
pretty much.
Getting through as quickly as possible while while having effective teamwork is the game there.
Essentially, which but still, even then, I know most people still tend to play the campaigns because the campaigns themselves are good. Not so much can be said about the AI for the survivors. You see, when you're not playing the campaigns online, the survivors will still be there unless you're using a mod to turn that off. Again, we'll cover that later. With that said, though, the AI for the game is notoriously shit, even though it is actually innovative and really good AI. It's both shit and really good. It's hard to explain that, but I'll
it
try
hasn't
to.
aged well compared to other AIs.
It-
How about that?
It hasn't aged well for sure, because day one the AI was shit, but it was also good at the same time. The problem with the AI is it can be a little bit too grabby with some stuff. It can have a little bit of trouble following some things, and the AI is still limited in certain regards and just does some really odd moves. But the AI can still be a reliable way of picking you up in the event of things, even if it has trouble picking you up. The AI doesn't get stuck on objects or gets left behind really far away. The AI will always stay close, and it has an idea of the path it'll go on. It's good in those senses, but I will say the AI is not a pretty thing in certain
And-
regards.
And you forget, even if it does get stuck, if you are too far away from them, they will warp to you.
Which is also a really nice feature.
Yes.
Kind of reminds me of like Brutal Doom right now, where it does the warping thing if you rescue a marine you find. But
Yeah.
with that said, while the AI itself may be shit for the characters, the AI director is arguably one of the most famous things about Left 4 Dead. For those of you who don't know, in most typical games, enemies are put into certain positions ahead of time. Generally, it's all cordially planned out with ease, so that way it's like, okay, the player can get used to this. They'll know that the enemy is here. It's basically to help develop the gaming sense of like adapting to the situation by having an idea what's going on with the situation. Trial and error. Left 4 Dead
Yes.
basically sees this idea, burns it, shoots it, and pisses on it. Instead, it uses its own AI director, which will spawn in zombies at random areas at random points.
In real
In-
real time.
In
instead
real
of
time as
being
well. That is a
pre-predicted.
very good point. all random.
In-
And it also spawns in random special infected, which we'll cover in a moment when we talk about the lore of the game. I know, kind of odd, because Left 4 Dead, you don't 100% think about the lore at times, but it actually has a really deep and really well thought out lore. But the AI director will basically spawn in special infected at different times to basically try to screw over the survivor and stuff. Which means no two playthroughs of Left 4 Dead will be the same, because it also affects ammo placements, weapon placements, item placements, things like that. The AI will even adjust based on how well you're doing. So if you're doing really good in the game, the AI director will start spawning in more zombies and special infected to try to curb you back down. If you're not doing as good, it'll tend to give you a little bit more items unless you're playing on the harder difficulties, in which that case it does not care how much you don't want it up the butt, it's going to send it up the butt. So, with that said, what are you guys' thoughts on the gameplay and the AI and just all the technical aspects in general when it comes to that?
I will say this, though the director is very, very nice, and depending on the difficulty, it'll show some mercy depending on how well you're doing. But there are times, I gotta say, where the director has just decided to spawn something somewhere bogus, or it decides to do something to your character where it's just like you can't get out of the situation. You have no choice but to go down.
Like
There are
if
times-
like if there's like a witch at a staircase that you have to
Yeah,
go down or
exactly.
something.
Yeah,
Sometimes it spawns
sometimes
things at stupid
sometimes a
areas,
witch, one of
but-
the special infected of the game, which we'll cover in a moment. Basically, sometimes it'll spawn in a spot that feels like pretty much you're going to lose or take a disadvantage right here
Or
and stuff, which can be a little bit
it's
unfair at
literally
times.
impossible to get by them. It's literally impossible to get by them without startling them.
Yeah,
because I will
basically.
say this: there are some the AI director does randomize things. There's still going to be some very specific instances where it's not randomized. You're going to face that all the time.
like
question-
for example, the passing which has which can actually react to the wedding music, or the sacrifices train tank. So, as you were saying, Tyler, I'm
Yep.
sorry to interrupt.
No, that's exactly the thing I was going to talk about here. Because like in that specific level of the sacrifice, there will always be in a train cart there a tank, a special skin tank that's locked up there, and there's no way to get around that. You will have to fight that tank every time you play through the passing. Otherwise,
Yeah,
there
that's
is
part of-
something that you cannot avoid.
That tank in specific is part of lore, if I recall, and that's why you have to fight him.
No, well,
But-
it's we're not complaining about it. I promise you that. It's just we're pointing out that there are some exceptions to the AI director's random spawning. There are some mandatory infected in
Yeah.
certain games and stuff, and it's not just Left 4 Dead 2 exclusive. This was in even Left 4 Dead 1. So,
Although I
Yeah.
will say this though about it being nice though, even if you're getting your ass kicked, there are times where even if you are on a lower difficulty, it will still kick your ass like you're doing well.
as I've
It is
learned the
very
hard way.
temperamental. It is very temperamental. It is not. It'll try to be your friend, but expect it to never want to work with you.
Yeah. Anybody else want to have any thoughts or mentions they want to talk about for the gameplay? Darkdude and Cody, maybe?
I have a couple of things to say regarding the gameplay and stuff.
Go ahead.
So, here's my take on Left 4 Dead. I think that in terms of like multiplayer wise, I think that this game is really fun as just like a fun like co-op game. In terms of single player, it is incredibly boring.
I have to agree.
Mostly
I have to agree.
Well, any
Yeah.
game that forces you to be on a team and you're on your own, it sucks.
Yeah,
That's just the general
because
cardinal rule.
for the podcast, generally how we do things is how we're going to be doing things is we give ourselves a couple weeks to play the game and kind of get a feel of what's going on, so that way we can be able to talk about it. Even if it's a game we've played millions of times in the past, we want our minds to be fresh on the topic, so that way we can have a clear understanding of what we're going to be talking about. And I did actually a solo session of Left 4 Dead by myself for Left 4 Dead 2. and it was not difficult at all. I played on the normal difficulty. I'm not the greatest player at
But
times, but that's still within reason. And it wasn't difficult, but I'll tell you what, it was boring not to have some of those fun moments where I'm just making a joke with a friend of mine, or just having some of those thrilling moments when we're fighting an infected that's been kind of screwing us over and we finally kill that fucker. It's some of the most satisfying stuff. So I have to agree with Darkdude. The single player is a bit of a wet noodle at times.
Right.
Um,
But aside from the single player and stuff, in regards to like the raw gameplay of like running around and shooting and stuff, I understand this game came out in like 2000. What was it? 2011.
2009.
2009.
2009. I understand this came out in like 2009 and stuff like that, but honestly, the shooting in the game feels very outdated to me.
Yeah, it was
Like-
really good for the time, and I will say it is better than some shooters. Like some Call of Duty games, the shooting hasn't aged as well. I'm not gonna say which ones because I can't 100% think them off the top of my head, but I promise you some of them just haven't aged that well. But some of the but I will say it was better just than some of those ones at the time. But I will agree, the gunplay in the games, partially also because of the animations, was a little off at times. I know the animations were good,
Yeah.
but it just feels like it feels very on the point of what animations it wants to go with. It doesn't feel like there will be an occasional variety of animations.
Can I
Yeah.
butt in on something?
Go ahead.
Sure, go ahead.
What
Go ahead.
hasn't really aged though is the gore system. I think Left 4 Dead is like some of like the best gore detail in any game I played.
I do have to agree.
Yeah,
And we'll
yeah,
cover
I-
we'll cover more of the
dated, but,
aging
like-
and we'll cover more of the aged aspects a little bit later on. But I will agree with you. The gore and like the
Like
horror,
the bullet damage,
the
is
horror
pretty
aspects
spot
of
on
the
in that
game and the gore aspects of the game have aged remarkably well. Because I've seen games more modernly that have covered more details like that, like the Resident Evil 2 remake and stuff. But I still like Left 4 Dead's a lot because it's really good, especially because of the amount of numbers that can be on screen at times. Yes, the bodies despawn after a while, which is a bit of a given. They kind of have to despawn, otherwise the game would be laggier than fucking the Mars rover connections.
Well,
yeah.
well, the
it's-
problem is like it's got aged hardware there because everyone is calling it a competitor that's on the Epic Game Store. May it rest its soul. World War Z, which has
is
a
good on
similar vein
consoles,
of-
but on the Epic Game Store is just the
Yeah, but like the main thing here is like it's the amount of processing hardware because the Source One engine is not that powerful for rendering entities in the slightest. Like that's why, for example, if you see like TF2 source film animations, there will not be that many entities on screen because at some point there's a hard set limit where the engine just says, "Nope, I'm not fucking doing this. I am out." And that's what the developers of Left 4 Dead 2 had to work with. They had to work with this limited amount of rendering they had to do here, which hopefully, as a separate topic but somewhat related, when Source 2 is implemented into the game, that means we can get more body piles.
yeah.
But that's just my own
if they
delusional hope.
decide
I don't know
to do a transfer of Left 4 Dead 2 into Source 2, or just make Left 4 Dead 3, which I think we would all rather want. Valve finally being
I
able to count to
thought-
3.
I thought they
Yeah.
ported Left 4 Dead 2 to Source 2 already.
No,
No,
they
they
ported
haven't.
Dota 2 to the Source 2.
Yeah.
I think they did that with Counter-Strike as well, but I could be
Yeah,
wrong.
They
They
put their newer flasher games. They put Counter-Strike and they put Dota 2 in the new Source 2 engine.
Right.
Because they're the big cash cows, even though apparently CSGO's been in decline steadily now.
Ever since the Battle Royale thing.
Yeah.
Even
So-
before, even like after that, like they were still popular to a degree, but like it started to really just go downhill from there. Like that just started the decline, which
Yeah.
kind of upsets me because I actually did like the idea of the MP5 SD in the game.
Fair enough. So,
Yeah.
with that said, we're going to move on to another aspect about Left 4 Dead that we really like, the lore and the zombies of the game. So, the lore of the game is basically this. A new virus is coming around right now called the green flu, and it's causing a little bit of concern. Man, that's indirectly modern.
Yeah,
It's like it's like Valve knew.
Valve
Yeah,
time.
Valve
they
knew-
they took
yeah,
forever
Valve
to
knew
release the
something
game, but
first.
they predict something years later.
something 13 years later here, but like the main thing is also it's a mutagenic virus here because there are individuals who will on occasion mutate into strange new forms. These are the special infected, and they take very extreme psychological and sociological like effects to it. Because, for example, here, which is I think our friend who is not here, Kevin's best example is the Charger. The Charger has displayed immense body growth to like both legs and one arm, but as a result here, it's taken the mass of another arm, made it basically a useless, atrophied piece of thing here. Like,
And all
also
masturbation jokes aside, the Charger is a seriously, occasionally scary monster to fight in the game.
Oh yeah.
Especially with tips like throwing it off maps, but that's a different topic here because
the worst being Swamp Fever, because Swamp Fever is a really dark map, and if a Charger comes in on Swamp Fever, sometimes it can start charging from a really dark area, and you hear it, but you have no idea where it is, and then next thing you know, you're off the dock. But essentially, the virus is called the Green Flu, and it's starting to have things go bad to the point where basically a full-on zombie apocalypse has happened, although they are referred to by survivors as zombies, technically speaking, they are not the proper definition of zombies in the traditional sense. The undead that crave purely human flesh, although they do still bite people and stuff, and I think from
that
what
is
I've
more
heard,
first spread of transmission, which if
yeah,
you want a better example of like what kind of infected they are, think more to The Last of Us infected off that with the polyps there, where
or
they
better
purely
yet,
attack people
the
with
major
bread.
influence for Left 4 Dead, in the regards of zombies, 28 Days Later, which also features a similar concept. But also the other thing is the quote-unquote zombies or the infected are actually not deceased. They are merely changing into monsters. So,
Well, that's the thing as well. The virus is shown here because the comics are considered canon to some
of
degree
course,
here.
of course.
There is a picture shown there where anyone that is not infected with the disease is shown to be like a monstrous form here, like something you'd see in a schizophrenia dream here, where it's just like they have elongated teeth, shadowy eyes, a figure that's like something of the stuff of nightmares, basically, more or less.
Yeah.
And the thing on with that is like that's how the quote unquote infected perceive people, and that's how like in some cases you can see that they're still very much human here because they have to rest to conserve their energies. They get tired, they cry, and it's just all these different things here they have to deal with it. They are still very much human. The problem is they have no control over themselves.
Yeah. Another thing to note as well about the Left 4 Dead infected is they're not like the traditional Romero type zombies where you get shot, you shoot one in the head, they're dead. You can shoot them anywhere in the body, but they are a bit resilient. The other thing is they're fast. They're not slow like Romero zombies. These things
there's
are
no
like fucking Usain Bolt on drugs of fast.
Think of it this
Well,
way.
I wouldn't say they're that
think of
fast,
it-
but they're like actual people here. They're not dead here. There's no decay of the motor functions because the disease still needs a host, and you don't fuck with the thing unless you're trying to create a specialized type of host. Like say for example, a special infected. They're just average
this
ass
way.
people who are like trying to bite you the same way an animal would that has rabies.
Fair
All
enough.
it wants to do is
Let's
to
let
spread
Jeremy
disease.
let's let Jeremy talk for a moment.
Think of it this way. They're all, the sprinters from COD Zombies, right?
Vaguely, yeah.
Like in Verrückt.
The really quick, the really fast ones, the ones that are a little bit harder to get away from.
Yeah, we kind of
Because they're
get the basic
always
point.
So basically, they're always faster than you are. So
Yeah.
So instead of having like different tiers of zombies like what Call of Duty has, you have the normal ones and the sprinters. Left 4 Dead, it's only between common infected, uncommon infected, and special infected. And the uncommon infected and common infected, they are always running at about sprinter zombie speed almost.
More or less.
So they will always catch up to you eventually, no matter what. And their pathing is set to basically cut you off. How their pathing is set to.
In essence, yeah.
Of
course,
that is how they always.
Of course,
that is
like
their
Tyler
pathing
mentioned
at all times.
Right. course, like Tyler mentioned before as well, there's also special infected. These are infected who've managed to mutate to another level and gain special abilities. We've already mentioned the Charger. We slightly mentioned the Witch before, but there are other infected as well, including the Hunter, the Smoker, the Boomer, the Spitter.
And there's also the poster child of special infected, the Tank, which is an individual who has like devolved into like almost a gorilla-like stance, complete with knuckle walking, because their body mass is just so massive. Like it's a dense, massive flesh here.
Like if you can remember that one villain from Sly Cooper 1 who walked on his arms only.
Mugshot.
Yeah,
Mugshot. is
Mugshot.
the one
It's
you're
like
thinking.
Mugshot if he was a human and a zombie and
They
was here to
all-
wreck your shit without guns.
They also
Turns
can
out
throw.
the Tank is actually just Mugshot.
Oh fuck
Oh,
me.
that's gross.
He's a
That's
bulldog
gross.
then.
No, you get that image out of my face, Dark. You put that thing back where it came from, or so help me.
Hey,
Bum,
hey,
bum,
hey,
bum.
no, hey, you know what? Left 4 Dead. Hey, Left 4 Dead acknowledged Sly Cooper's existence more than Sony had.
Yeah, you're right.
Stop
But
reminding me.
back
I'm
to-
waiting for Sly 5. Ugh, I know it's not gonna happen, but I can dream.
But to put onto a point there like that, like the green flu has shown to be very creative in adapting hosts for Nida, because it's not like to just bring up again The Last of Us here. It's not like The Last of Us thing there with the polyps. This is like a purely mutagenic from a virus perspective thing here, where it makes changes that better suit its needs to capture prey, which is unaffected people here. The Hunter has
Not to mention that
devoted-
the virus is heavily implied in the in both the games and the comics to be an airborne pathogen, although contact can be increased for further spread through a bite. But it is possible that it's also an airborne pathogen. So
like the Left 4 Dead, not the Left 4 Dead. What's the show that everyone fucking praises that has Negan in it?
Walking Dead.
Walking Dead.
Walking Dead. Thank you.
Kinda a different concept, but I kind of get what you were trying to imply. I understand. But
I understood.
as
that, my
for,
friend.
as God damn it. But fucking threw me off. But of course, there's not just zombies in the game. There are humans too. The humans you play as, the ones who are Left 4 Dead. Okay. But that
Go to your room. That was terrible. But
I'm in my room. With that said, though, there in the original game there are 4 survivors. In Left 4 Dead 2, you play as a new set of survivors. Of course, because of some updates that introduced the original campaigns from Left 4 Dead 1, you can play as the original survivors, along with some new campaigns that are based around the Left 4 Dead 1 survivors. The Left 4 Dead 1 survivors are Zoe, a college film student who spends more time watching zombie movies, Lewis, an IT intern, I think. I'm
no,
not
he's
sure
not
about
an intern.
He's not an intern.
He's a fully developed person in his company. He works at IT. The problem is though, he's really just tired of people not taking him seriously because back in early on days, nerdy black people can't exist, which was a sad but unfortunate reality at the time.
This combined with also the poor treatment of ITs back then. Basically, Lewis got the Lewis got a terrible short end of the stick. He also liked going to the gun range a lot, so there's that too.
There is the implication that I'd always at the gun range at lunch. The guys at the office would laugh at me, but well, who's laughing now?
Yeah,
which is a good point here for the apocalypse. And then there's Bill, a man who survived fucking Vietnam.
I'll go into Bill in a moment. Then there's Francis, basically the common criminal, a biker goon kind of thing, who's about to go into prison right when the outbreak happens and turns it into paradise with a shit ton of beer and a jukebox. This is a mistake, which ends up most likely killing his friends, but he just kind of goes along and survives. And then there's the fuck-mothering master of badassery himself, William Bill Overbeck. As Tyler was mentioning before, he is a former Vietnam veteran who has won multiple medals and has completed 2 tours and has a shrapnel, a knee full of shrapnel. I almost said a shrapnel full of knee. God.
To basically help sum it up for my generous host here, Bill Overbeck is a soldier at his purest and finest. He will not give up and he will not surrender. What got him to get out of the war was 2 tours of duty, an entire shrapnel full of knee, plus a medical discharge. And even then, he wasn't satisfied. He hated civilian life with a passion.
Kind of like some similar people.
Else. Yep, he hated, pretty much that. He hated civilian life. He wanted nothing more than to go back and get an enemy to fight. And you know, with the end of the world coming, he finally got his wish.
You're
And now
reading.
he's
You're reading the official bio, aren't you?
No, I just know his shit by heart.
Oh, geez, that is impressive because that
Wow,
almost
read
sounded.
that much.
That really
Well,
sounded like the official bio.
Well, the thing is also my grandpa, who I never met, who served in Vietnam, is also named was named his name is Robert, but they always called him Bill in his journals.
Oh, okay.
So
So-
like that's how like I think like how I imagine if I ever met my grandpa, like that's how it is. My grandpa is also on my paternal side, but that's a different topic entirely.
Yeah. As for the Left 4 Dead 2 survivors, first of all, there's Coach, a former football player who was about to go pro, but sadly suffered
Coach.
a knee injury.
Coach.
Also,
Yeah.
aka God,
He was a
according to
coach.
Jeremy.
He was a coach.
Well, no, he was a
No,
player first.
They
then he
confirmed
suffered
he
a
was a
knee
player.
injury,
Yeah, so
and
he
then
became a coach because of
like how
the-
most players get. Yeah, if players suffer an injury, chances are they become a coach. That's just
Yeah.
like how the world works.
Then
Yeah.
there's Rochelle, a news journalist who is originally started off as kind of an intern-like position. I'm not sure if it was an intern, but it was basically like a glorified intern. And finally got a chance to report on things when reporters started to go call in sick because of the whole green flu, and she was told to go over to Savannah, even though she's from Cleveland. I don't get that either, so yeah. And basically ended up getting caught up in the whole mess. Then there's Nick, a convicted con man who can't legally own guns and was just basically drifting around, just moving along with stuff. And then there's Ellis, my favorite character. If you couldn't tell, I'm saving my favorite characters for each game for last. But
He's
a truck
good old
mechanic,
boy.
a truck mechanic who's just pretty much a good old Southern boy. I assume minus the racism because it doesn't seem like he's racist in the slightest. Thank God for that.
I think it was just more about the fact of embracing life here, because like he has several stories where he's talking about his buddy Keith there, and he just embraces life, come and go. He doesn't give a shit about the differences of life. He just wants to live life to the fullest. Zombie apocalypse be damned.
He's the Southern equivalent of a surfer, basically.
If that makes any damn sense, which I don't think it does.
A southern
but-
surfer.
What's up?
So, yeah, with that said, I think the lore of the game is pretty good because it does go into depth and explain things. The nice thing as well is it doesn't really do it that much through cutscenes. It does it in the game itself through dialogue, which there's millions of dialogues of which can be randomized as well, partially through influence from the AI director. So, now we're going to talk more about things like the source engine, mods, and the game's update history. So first of all, for those of you who don't know what the source engine is, Valve originally developed games on the GoldSec engine, which was a modified version of the Quake 2 engine, which was a modified version of the Quake 1 engine. This shit goes really long back, but I'm just covering the basics of it there.
It's an engine rhombus.
No kidding.
You know, like a love triangle. It's a source rhombus.
It's bigger than a fucking rhombus, I'll tell you that. But with that said, basically, when it came time to develop Half-Life 2, for all so many years it took, they wanted to develop a new engine for it, both to improve the graphics and also improve the physics on it. Enter the Source engine, which in my opinion, even with some of its flaws, because I don't think it can always be perfect with graphics, and some things in its regards are a little bit weird at times, but I think the Source engine is honestly one of the greatest engines ever made. It's a really nice engine that just is very modern and very community friendly. So,
Hey, can I butt in on something? Titanfall uses the Source engine.
I mean,
A modified version of it, but yeah.
Source engine is Source engine at the end of the day. It
Well,
modified
yeah.
or not, unless it modifies it so rapidly it becomes a new engine. Case in point, the Valve GoldSec engine. So, but I still think the Source engine holds up incredibly well. I mean, what are you guys' thoughts on the Source engine?
It's showing its age at this point. That's all I'm gonna say.
It is
It
showing
is
his
showing
age.
age.
I will give it that.
Unless you play Half-Life Alex.
Well, yeah,
Unless
but
you
that's
play
on the
Half-Life
Switch
Alyx.
too.
That game is amazing.
Half-Life Alyx runs on the Source 2 engine, so that's a kind of a
Yeah, that's the
different.
problem.
Yeah,
Well, okay, yeah. To be fair, I can see it there.
Yeah,
With that said, though, it is still an impressive engine in regards of gameplay and community friendness and modability, which leads into another point about Left 4 Dead mods. Like, you can't do
Yes.
this on the Xbox version or certain versions, but Left 4 Dead 2 is known for having some of the biggest and most dedicated modding community. There are so many goddamn mods for this game, and this was before, mind you, the Steam Workshop even came into being. The game was heavily modded before then.
Yeah, I still actually remember when exactly when Steam introduced the workshop to Left 4
Yes,
Dead. I think it was around like 2011, 2012, I think, when they introduced it.
No, I think it was 2014 because the Steam Workshop was introduced to like 2012 or something, and Left 4 Dead
Maybe.
was not one
Yeah,
of the first
you might
games.
be right. You might be right actually, because I did get it on PC around like 2011, because that's when I started to get into the whole PC gaming scene with TF2 and stuff.
Yeah, which we'll cover another episode for TF2. But
Oh yeah.
But basically, the mods for this game are incredible. There are so many talented mods. There are some piece of shit mods, of course, as well. But there are so many changing weapon skins, changing animations, adding new campaigns, changing voice lines, changing player models, even changing huge amounts of gameplay, such as gun mechanics, ammo capacity, or even game modes. One of my favorite mods, which I haven't played in years, sadly, is Tank Rush, a mod where it spawns in a shit ton of tanks. Every time you kill a tank, it gives you full health. Basically, it's a race to the end, trying to survive and not get killed by the hordes of tanks that are utterly terrifying you. It's a really fun game mode, so...
It is.
But the nice thing as well is Valve, in concurrent with the mods, was also releasing updates, and the updates actually helped improve the mods even more over time. And Valve has released some really good updates for Left 4 Dead. There was the passing update, which introduced the passing campaign, which was a really good campaign, even though it kills off Bill. I'll never forgive you, Valve!
Although technically speaking, with this new update here, they've gone ahead and retconned that. So
No. It's considered the campaign's not canon, actually.
well, I
Well,
reject your
the
reality
new
and
update.
substitute my own.
The new update is I think it's a community update, so I'm not sure if it'd be canon anyway.
It is
Yeah.
a community. It is a community-owned update.
And much like
It was
Coldstream,
an
one of the
update
other updates,
host-
it is considered non-canon. So
It was hosted. The update was hosted by Valve, but the community was the ones who handled the update itself.
yeah, but Valve's dedication to the updates for a while until they went soft, because the update we were talking about now, the Last Stand update, just came out this year, which is really impressive. But before that, the last major update was around, I want to say 2013 or 14. It's been a really long time since the last update before that. So, needless to say, it was a bit of a surprise when the update came out. And although it's not a perfect update, I do think the campaign is a little short. I do like the update. I think it's a good update because the campaign is good. It's just it could have used some extra stuff.
It's decent, I think.
So
I feel like it's like you said. I feel like the campaign could have used a little bit more in terms of like game time and weapons and stuff like that. Because I feel like, should I bring this up with like more criticisms about the game? Like if
go
like, things are
ahead, go
outdated?
ahead, because we're talking about our opinions. So go ahead.
Right. So something that I didn't get to mention before. One of the like another personal problem that I have with Left 4 Dead is the lack of weapon variety in the game.
Yeah,
Like,
like
if you
Left 4 Dead
notice-
2, Left 4 Dead 2 adds a bunch of weapon variety, which is nice. But even then, I have to agree with Darkdude. The weapon variety of this game is shit.
Yeah, like you have like two shotguns, like pump shotguns. They look and feel exactly the same.
They
You have two
function
auto
very
shotguns.
little difference. So
Yeah, and then you have the
Yep.
two auto shotguns, which also feel exactly the same. And then there's two
Even though
SMGs, which feel exactly the same. And
Well,
honestly, sorry, you were gonna say, Tyler.
I was like, the thing is too, like, I guess, like, it's, how do I say it? Like, I get where you're going on that, but like, they try to make the rifles feel different, and the problem is on that is, like, they focus too much on the rifles to make them stand out here. Because the sniper rifles, you're limited on, but like they're meant to be different here. Because one you can spam out shots, the other one you can just fucking just bap 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 fire fire fire.
Really, really, the only assault rifle that I like of the assault rifles that we have in Left 4 Dead is the M16.
I don't know.
That's it.
I like the AK because the AK, even though it's a slightly slower fire, it's still a full auto fire, and
Well,
it
the thing
has
is
a
with
better
the AK,
damage
it's-
output. I do prefer the
I mean,
M16. I do prefer the
I mean-
M16, but I do have to at least defend the AK there because the AK, to an extent, is a little bit of a game changer because it does an increased damage output, slower fire, and shorter clip in return, but still.
I guess, yeah. But if I had to choose between either picking up the AK or the M16, I'm going M16 any day of the week.
Oh yeah, M16 because it's reliable. Ironically enough, because in real life it's usually the other way around.
Yeah.
And not the newer ones, but like
Yeah, but this is based on like it says M16 and it's supposed to be, even though it's not 100%, it's fully meant to be partially influenced by the M16s from the old school days, when it would jam a lot normally.
From like Vietnam and stuff.
it doesn't.
Yeah.
That my problem is though is like from just like reflection value, looking at the like the barrel on that, it's not like the first generations. It's like the M16 M2. It's got the chrome line barrel here because it's a lot shinier on that. There's a more polished finish to it. The original one was dull and like it didn't catch sunlight very well. It was like a very matte, very like almost like subtracted and muted color. Here. So it's like it's the improved variation, which has like more reliability stuff.
Fair
feel
enough,
like
but even then, if one is to compare the AK to an M16, everyone nearly agrees the AK was a way more reliable and effective weapon. So
Right.
that's without contention. If you're defending the original M16 or even the slightly improved M16 to the AK, then good luck with that. So. With that said, we're going to move on to our final topics right now, unless anyone else wants to add on some points about mods and updates. Maybe Cody?
My only suggestion really is like I kind of wish the game had a better way of like doing said mods, because like you have to install them from Steam, right? And then once you go onto the game, it has to reinstall them again.
I have to
which
agree with
gets
that because
annoying.
that is really fucking annoying.
It is really annoying to do that.
I can understand. I can understand kind of maybe if it's a lot of mods in a row, but even then, only to a small extent. Because even then, it should just be like while the game's loading up, it should be loading them in. Even if it doesn't finish,
Right.
it should at least start to. So
Personally, something that I would like to see more of that I don't see enough of in terms of like the workshop mods and stuff, going back to like weapons and stuff, because that is one thing when it comes to me about games like Left 4 Dead and Call of Duty, and even in a really weird way, Castlevania. I like having variety in terms of like the weapons that I use. So I would like to see more like additional weapons in the workshop. I know they exist, but they are very far and few between in comparison to like weapon skins and stuff, which doesn't really do it for me.
yeah. So, finally, we're going to talk about how well this game has aged and the influence of this game. Now, obviously, in the regards of talking about weapons and the weapon selection, it has obviously not aged well. In fact, it wasn't really that great back then, even though it was much needed improvement. Because something we forgot to mention as well, because that the game introduced was melee weapons. Left 4 Dead 2 introduced melee weapons, and that was a godsend introduction. I may rarely use melee weapons, but I'll tell you what, I'm still glad they're there. And to those who know how to use them or prefer to use them, like Jeremy, basically, you become death incarnate. So,
yeah,
but
melee weapons.
But in the
Sorry, go
regards
ahead.
of other aspects, I want to ask each of you before I give my own personal thoughts. How well do you think the game has aged? So I'm gonna go with Darkdude first. How well do you think the game's aged?
Honestly, it really depends on like which aspect you look at the game from. If you look at the game from like a single player standpoint, the game has not aged well. Like
Dead on arrival, I think.
oh yeah, essentially. Like the thing about playing the campaigns like solo, or I guess in general, is that once you've played one campaign, you've kind of played them all.
Yeah.
But
Even
the
though
thing
all the
is that
campaigns are different and unique and stuff, when you're playing it solo, it's just
it feels blended together and exactly the same. But the thing is that when you're playing when you're playing with friends, that mindset is kind of like mitigated. So it makes it really fun to like play with friends and everything. The multiplayer aspect in terms of like versus and stuff. I don't know if they actually fixed anything in like the recent update, but I really do feel like they could have fixed a lot of things with like how the special infected play.
yeah,
Because a
because
lot of the
the
special
balance
infected,
for versus can be a little odd and cannot be as beginner or medium friendly. And I'm not saying make it easy for them. I'm just saying
yeah.
it feels
But I
at
mean, like,
times like it feels like at times it's giving us pistol ammo when we need shotgun ammo kind of situation.
Yeah.
right, but it seems like for like playing as a special infected, it's like for characters like the jockey and the smoker, it's like sometimes like those characters don't even work half the time. It's like you try to jump on them and then they just don't latch on at all. Or sometimes you'll like shoot your tongue at
The hit
somebody
detection.
and it should be dead on,
Yeah.
but it's not.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
in terms of that's the like versus. In terms of like the co-op and everything, I honestly think it still holds up as a fun co-op experience.
How about you, Jeremy?
Well, I mean, I was just commenting on the fact that Dark was just talking about the hit detection, and he's absolutely right. Is that the hit detection as special infected has a tendency to be quite finicky.
Garbage.
Yeah, finicky. That's a good I'd say for it.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes when it does work, it feels real good, but like that's only if it works.
Right.
All right. Anything else you want to add for the in your opinions of how well the game is aged, or
Nothing from me.
okay? How about you, Tyler? How well do you think the game's aged personally?
Oh, jeez. Where do I start with this? Okay, so
Oh boy.
All
okay,
right,
no, 'cause, like, here's
I'll
the
get
thing,
the
like, from a
cigarette.
game- you might, but I don't think you should smoke. Smoking's bad, kids. Don't do that. Okay, so like, yeah, drugs are bad. Okay, so from a perspective of it being a co-op experience, it is still probably the damn funnest thing I have ever played in my life, and I would play it if like my friends asked. I will still do that. But in terms of like the gameplay itself here, like when you're trying, to do stuff, it definitely shows its age. I'm not gonna say it's a bad game because it most certainly is not. And from all the play hours I have in my fucking account on Steam, I cannot say it's a bad game and be taken seriously because that's just me fucking lying out of my teeth.
I mean, it's still one of the most regularly played Steam games.
Yeah, it's still
gotta be doing. It's gotta be doing something.
Yeah, and that's the point. Like, I am very comfortable with you bringing up, Cody. Like, that's exactly the point here. Like, it is still very much a game people are still dead ass playing here, even after all this time here. And it's not like anyone's complaining. Oh god, it's more Left 4 Dead. And it's like, oh yay, more Left 4 Dead. It's like, from a perspective of that here, I think it's still a fantastic game. But playing other things now, it definitely shows its age here because some games have made things simplified. The best example I have at the moment right now, Vermintide is a good example of that. It just makes everything feel better with melee because melee is sometimes super jank. Like you can hit, it's like there's a thing in the game here where you can hit a charging, like special infected, like say for example a hunter, and sometimes you will get the headshot and you will kill them before they can start mauling the fuck out of your friend.
And then sometimes it just doesn't work at all.
Yeah, sometimes you will get them dead on in the head, and then like it's like a whiff. There's no detection on that, and that's terrible. Vermintide, granted, has some content drought issues here and there, but like at least they're doing their best to make sure that everything's consistent in hitting things. Granted, it's unfair at the higher levels, but any game is unfair at the higher levels.
And I need to play Vermintide more. That game is really good.
I need to play Vermintide at some point because I keep hearing so many good things about it. Mostly from Tyler, who won't shut up about it. No offense, that's actually a compliment in this case.
It's a really good game. You're missing the fuck out, man. Because like it's pretty much. Although I will say this though, if you want a better modern zombie shooter game, it's like Left 4 Dead. It might not have more of the fantastical elements, but World War Z has a lot more common infected you can just mow through.
Fair enough, which is something we'll cover in a quick moment too for like influences. But really quick, first of all, Cody, in your personal opinion, how well do you think the game is aged?
I think if you're just playing with friends, I think you could still have a fun time with it. But I agree with other people's sentiments in this call, like Darkdude, for example. I think if you're playing it solo, I think you're better off playing something else, like COD Zombies, for example. If you
Or
want a
Dead Rising,
solo,
maybe.
or some, because other games, I feel like you get more mileage, and you want to get as frustrated as you would just playing solo Left 4 Dead. I don't know.
Yeah, that's something that I kind of feel with more arcadey style zombies, like with Call of Duty Zombies and Killing Floor and whatnot. I feel like there's more like longevity solo for those games because of like the randomness and stuff like that. But we'll get into that in a minute.
Yeah. But in my unless you have something else to say about how well the game's aged, Cody. In my personal opinion, oh, sorry, go ahead.
I mean, the game is like what, over like 11 years old, and I'm surprised it's still getting this much traction this day. I'm just surprised it's still getting updated at all, honestly.
Yeah,
You would think the developers moved on from it, but I mean, into which case they kind of have, but I mean, it's still amazing that game has been around for so long. So I mean,
it's incredible that a lot of games are in that similar situation as well.
Yeah, so I mean, shout outs goes towards the developers for making the games last as long as they did.
Yeah,
But
I feel personally in the regards of like solo versus and some other game modes, because we didn't talk about all the game modes either. There's some other game modes as well, like Scavenge or Scavenge versus, or the mutations, or just survival. Which survival is a fun game mode. You're not going to be hearing criticism from me on that. I think it's really well done. Perfect? No, but I think it's really well done still. Uh, but like in a lot of certain regards, it hasn't really aged that well. But I think in the regards of a cooperative campaign-based game, it is one of the best out there of all time. While not all the gameplay has
no questions.
100%, not all the gameplay is 100% aged that well, while the graphics, although look good, have a bit of an odd film grade filter, which I get why it's meant to be a parody of like B movies and things like that. I do feel in the regards of things that filter is a little bit odd at times, but the game has in certain aspects hasn't aged well, but I think where it's aged the best, and which was the main driving point, was being just a damn good time where you could just sit down with your friends and just play some fucking games and shoot zombies. And I think in that regard, it's aged beautifully. So, before we finish up with the episode today here, we're going to talk about some quick games that have been influenced by it since then. Vermintide's obviously one. Killing Floor has taken a little bit of influence, but the main thing about Left 4 Dead, and along with Call of Duty Zombies, because both of them kind of came out around the same time, is that it actually helped start a kind of a re-revolution of zombies, which would actually end up resulting in the 2010 zombie boom, where just for almost the whole decade there were so many zombie things. It wasn't just limited to video games. There was movies, TV shows, comic books. I was even hearing some songs with zombie themes to them. That's how much that Call of Duty Zombies and Left 4 Dead Zombies had an influence on that. And they weren't the total influence as well. There was 28 Days Later, obviously, and along with Shaun of the Dead and the Dawn of the Dead remake that came out around the time. There was also the Walking Dead comic that was starting to get popular and was getting adapted into a TV show. But just basically, Call of Duty Zombies and Left 4 Dead changed zombie gameplay forever. Sometimes for the better, sometimes for the worse. And in my opinion, Call of Duty Zombies, Left 4 Dead, and Resident Evil are the holy trinity of zombie games in the regards of having a major influence. They may not be the best gameplay wise at times, but I'll tell you what, they're the best in the regards of influence and how well they've aged, even if some aspects of them have not aged too greatly, or if they've overstayed their welcome in certain regards. Call of Duty Zombies.
I mean, some people play Call of Duty games purely for the zombies, so it depends on what game, really.
I guess it's
Yeah,
50-50.
it also depends on which Call of Duty Zombies we're talking about.
Also,
we don't talk about Black Ops 4 Zombies here.
I'm sorry, Black Ops 4 had zombies.
And people are still trying to forget about
it did.
So, with that said, although the zombie boom may be starting to die out, especially since the Walking Dead main TV show, of like the 5 TV shows they have, the main TV show may be ending now, which has more or less ended the big zombie boom. But I'll tell you what, zombies, like kind of like a certain YouTube video made by a YouTuber called Ahoy once said, zombies may be dying out, but they always seem to find a way to come back.
He will
So,
always be ever known as Xbox Ahoy. It's travesty you would call him just Ahoy nowadays.
I never knew him around as Xbox Ahoy, I'll tell you that.
Fucking shame on you, shame on your cow, and shame on your family.
Well,
God damn. Well, I think that's a hell of a way to start ending the episode. So, with that said, I guess really quickly, I'll just ask everyone, do you recommend or do you not recommend Left 4 Dead? I'm going to ask the person who plays Left 4 Dead the best first. Jeremy, do you personally recommend Left 4 Dead 2 or not recommend Left 4 Dead 2?
I personally do highly recommend it. Not sure, it has its kinks but it's an old game. Of course, it's gonna have its issues. But like, if you want to experience like the peak of like zombie games and stuff like that, I think Left 4 Dead 2 is the right choice for that. And even if you're just looking for a good cooperative game, even then, like Left 4 Dead 2 is a great game to go and play with your friends.
Fair enough. Darkdude, would you personally recommend Left 4 Dead 2?
absolutely. I think that despite its age and everything, I do think that in terms of, and I know we're sounding like broken records here, in terms of like co-op and stuff, it's fantastic. It might not be so great to play by yourself. Like Cody said, if you want to play a zombie game by yourself, there's like hundreds of other options out there. But in terms of like playing it with friends just for like a campaign or two, then yeah, I would say recommend it.
Okay. Cody, would you personally recommend Left 4 Dead 2?
Yes, I would, but when you get into it, don't be expecting like any newness. I guess I should explain this better. Like, if you're expecting this game to be like a 2020 standard for like games, I think you might be disappointed. But if you're just expecting to just have a raw, fun time, I think the game still shines in that department. I think this is still one of the best games you can play cooperatively right now. It's just, don't go into the game thinking that, oh, it's gonna look, it's gonna behave, it's gonna play like a 2020 game or something like that. It's not. It's not. But
And if you think like that as well, that'll be the first track to getting charged off the dock in Swamp Fever.
well, yeah, but there's some
Yeah.
people that's like, I don't want to play this game because it doesn't look great or run bad. I'm like, that's kind of like a bad mindset to go into it.
Yeah.
You know, I'm just saying for those people that still think like that.
To those people, I
Right.
say you're entitled to your own wrong damn opinions, but just know the trash can's on the right.
So, with that said, Tyler, would you personally recommend Left 4 Dead 2?
Get your friends, and if your friends say no, tell them they're a bitch and get it for them. Because I will tell you this, the rando experience can be either really good
Just
or
don't even
really
bother
bad.
with the first Left 4 Dead. It's kind of irrelevant.
Yeah, the first Left 4 Dead, like you can play that in Left 4 Dead 2. Don't get the first Left 4 Dead unless
There
you
are
want to
some
split it out, but, like,
there are some nice things about Left 4 Dead 1 that I do want to come back to once in a while to play, but I do have to agree, if you had to choose between one or the other, choose Left 4 Dead 2.
You get
But with that said, in regards of my recommendation, I would absolutely recommend Left 4 Dead 2. While the game hasn't aged perfectly in certain aspects, like everyone's covered here, basically, the main aspect that has aged well in is thankfully the selling point aspect. It's cooperative, run and gun, fun shooting zombie gameplay. It's not meant to be the heaviest storytelling game, the highest graphical pushing game, the most innovative zombie gameplay kind of game. It's just
It's
meant to
just
be
to
a
have
fun zombie game that happened to be innovative for zombie games, that happened to be innovative for co-op games. Because the big thing is, this was a huge influence for later on co-op games. This wasn't just limited to zombie-based co-op games. It had a huge influence on a ton of co-op games. So, yes, I can wholeheartedly say, without a shadow of a doubt, I would recommend Left 4 Dead 2. So, with that said, we're coming around to the end of the podcast now. I like how we originally planned for it to be around an hour and 10 minutes long, and we're now pushing an hour and 40.
Well, that's what happens with passion here, people.
That's what
Once you
happens
get
with
passion
both.
going,
Well, hang on. That's what happens with both passion and when you give Cody the option to talk about the Call of Duty storage size. Much like the Call of Duty storage size, that took up a lot of space.
It wasn't even that long.
Yes, it was. I legitimately was watching the time on it. It was longer than the other news discussion combined together.
Well, yeah, because
Well, it probably also doesn't help the fact that we kept on talking about, like, we moved on to Doom. We talked about Doom.
Yeah, we did go into Doom
It
3
was
for like 3 minutes.
we talk about Vermintide, we talk about Call of Duty Zombies,
Well,
we
you
talk
know,
about
we could
Cyberpunk.
look, we could let it slide because one, Left 4 Dead 2 was a big game, and two, this is our first episode, so it's a
I think it
special
still
episode,
is.
so we can allow the circumstance. Also, this may just be this frame setting for the episode should be longer than an hour and 20 minutes from now on, regardless.
Yeah.
Because it's very clear that an hour alone might not work. We'll definitely be trying over the next couple episodes, folks. So please bear with us.
Usually
while
most
we...
podcasts they last like over an hour and a half.
Results may vary.
That's true. That's true.
So with that said, for next week's episode, the game we're going to be covering, or not next week, excuse me, next couple weeks from now, because this will be a mostly bi-weekly kind of show. It just kind of varies, so just bear with us. Also, my notorious uploading track record is shit. So there's
I was
that
gonna say
too.
garbage, but your words, not your words.
No,
not mine.
it's
I'm gonna
worse
say
than garbage. It's just plain shit.
I guess you could say it notoriously.
Shut the fuck up.
No, I got one even worse for you. It's notoriously wah.
Okay, I'll allow that one. I'll allow that one.
Fuck.
It's because he did the wah. It's because he did the wah. I can.
It's the wall, man.
I hear the
You
wah
can't-
and I
you
go.
can't add the wall.
You
You can't add the wall. The moment you add the wall, it
You're fucked.
gets accepted.
The moment you add the wall, you're fucked. So that
You
said,
win 8 part.
so that said, for the next couple weeks from now episode, we're gonna be next episode basically. The next episode we're gonna be covering Telltale's The Walking Dead season 1 and season 2. As for season 3, fuck off. Okay, we might cover season 3 another time, but we're not going to be covering it for this episode. Same with season 4, although season 4 I don't have a more negative reception to. So, with that said, I'll see you guys later. I'm Ace Luck. With me is Darkdude. Jeremy.
Oi.
Okay, I wasn't expecting that from Jeremy. Cody. And Tyler.
Dishonor on your fucking cow.
I'm glad Tyler was the only one to actually say something that wasn't a single letter. Or excuse me for Jeremy's case, 2 letters.
3.
No, I said
I
2
like
letters.
3.
I said A and Y. A.
Yeah. And what? Hey.
Hey.
I hate
Well,
all of you right now.
we love you too, big man.
Yeah. So next time we'll be covering Telltale's The Walking Dead. Joining me for that episode will hopefully be Darkdude, Cody, and Tyler. I'll see you guys next time. Stay golden.
You're still a bitch.